Hey, what's going on, guys? It is TCG Tyson here, and today I wanted to take a look at Phantasmal Flames from a competitive player's perspective. We're going to go at it from a collective's perspective in another video, but today just going over the set list here on Pokemon Proxies. Shout out to them, and we're going to go over all the EXs, any single prize Pokemon that might be good, all the items, all the trainer cards, see what's worth your time and what is potentially not from a competitive player's opinion. Now, of course, I mean, this is something you'll never know how good the cards actually are until you get them in your hands and to play with them. But this will just be my opinion from my testing, from watching other people test with it, and experience playing the game. All right, so if we start off, we'll go in Mega Heracross. So this is a basic three-prize Pokemon, Mega Heracross, and it's 280 HP, Panzerhorn for two grass, 100, and if this Pokemon was damaged by an attack during your opponent's last turn, this attack does that much more damage. That's probably the real selling point of the card. And then Mountain Thrust, 270, discard 2 cards from the top of your opponent's deck. We all can agree, if you've been playing the game recently, 3 energy for 170, not good enough, even if it has 2 card mill. But Panzerhorn is the interesting one, right? So what this means is if you're playing Dragapult and your opponent Phantom dives you, puts 200 on you, now you're smacking them for 300, right? Um, that's just an example, but these attacks, these reactionary attacks generally aren't that good because they essentially rely on your opponent playing into them, which is the issue, right? This is, you can gust around this, you can hit it for a little bit of damage and then hit it for big damage. Like in Dragapult's case, an option that they have is Dusknoir, right? Or Dusknoir or Dusclops to soften you up and then next turn take you out. Or they could, even if they have something like this on the bench, they go Halucha, uh, Phantom Dive, whatever's in the active, and put 6 on it. Now you've just got 70 on you, and they can find a way to take their prizes from there. So I don't know that it's worth it. Yes, it's a basic, but you give up 3 prizes. That's the issue. If this is a 2-prizer, maybe you consider it in a meta with 3 prizers, because then you're always going to trade favorably, but that's not the case with Mega Heracross. This card, don't care about it competitively, but this art is dope. But it is the pre-evolution to this card, which people are considering. So Ludicolo, we're playing it for the ability. It's a stage 2 single prize with 160 HP with Excited Healing. So once during your turn, if you have a Grass Mega Pokemon in play, you may heal 60 damage from one of your Pokemon. Grass Mega Pokemon, Heracross, right? The real use case so far is Mega Venusaur, right? There's a world with the vitality for source of vitality, excuse me, that we have now, which allows you to evolve directly up from the Lotad all the way to the Ludicolo in one turn, as long as it's not your first turn. Where you have a Venusaur in the active, a bunch of these on the bench, you heal 180 every turn, right? That's a thing that you can do. Just because it is possible doesn't mean it's plausible, though, and doesn't mean that it is good. I think Venusaur has shown to be pretty inconsistent and not great in the current format. This set does bring a card that I think will help that, but I'm less sold than I was before that it's going to actually make Venusaur itself, let alone adding another stage 2 into the deck, a good strategy. There's also an item card in the set that I think if you're going to go that route, you might play the item card over. Um, just because playing an item card is easier than setting up a stage 2, right? Even with the stadium. This guy, on the other hand, I think is pretty good in a Venusaur deck. If you're going to play Venusaur, you probably play one of this Genesect. Basic Pokemon with 120 HP. Choose one of your opponent's Pokemon. This attack does 20 damage to it for each grass energy attached. Don't apply resistance or weakness to bench Pokemon, which is important. The reason why this is good in a Venusaur deck is because you have Meganium, right? So Meganium has the ability that doubles all the grass energy attached to your Pokemon, and Venusaur has an ability that allows you to move grass energy around your board. So you stack 6 energy on this thing, or you stack 3 energy, not even 6. You stack 3 energy on this thing. Meganium makes it count as 6. Now you're sniping for 120, right? And so on and so forth. More relevant number is 180, right? So if you have, what is that? You need 5 grass energy in play. You'll be hitting for 200, but 180 is a relevant number for when you start sniping Mews, one more, and then you're sniping Fezzes, right? So this is decent, and you play a lot of grass energy in those decks, so it's an option that you have, and it's only one prize. So Genesect could be decent. Next up, we have the line that is the face of the set, or one half of the face of the set, I should say. You have Mega Charizard XEX. Mega Charizard XEX, 3 prize, stage 2, 360 HP with Inferno X. It's Raging Bolt plus 20. It says discard any number of fire energy among your Pokemon. This attack does 90 damage for each discarded in that way. So Mega Charizard EX or Mega Charizard XEX has some things working against it and some things working for it. Things working for it, it's big. This is a big guy, and it is not weak to grass, right? So the regular Charizard EX that we have in form right now being weak to grass, I think is its biggest issue. There are now a lot of grass things in the format that can just one-shot you. But this guy, water's pretty bad right now. Water stays bad. There's no good water Pokemon in this set. So the weakness doesn't really matter that much like it did in the other one. Downside, you're not hitting for as relevant of a weakness as the attacker because metal Pokemon are bad right now. Regular Charizard EX hits for Dark Weakness, which hits one of the best decks in the format. Not too long ago, it was the de facto best deck in the format. Guard EX hits them for weakness, very relevant, right? So you get some trade-offs there, but I think until rotation, you're not even considering playing a Mega Charizard deck just Mega Charizard, right? This guy, you're slapping one of him into your regular Charizard EX deck because it turns Infernal Rain into do 270. It turns Infernal Rain plus an attachment into do 360, right? Infernal Rain on regular Charizard, if you don't know, says when you evolve into Charizard EX, then you go search your deck for 3 fire energy, attach them to your Pokemon any way you like. So, into the game, you can Infernal Rain into this guy, blow something up, or you can Infernal Rain onto that guy, I should say. Or if you need to hit for a big number early, say you're playing against like a Mega Absol deck with a Kangaskhan in it, right? Kangaskhan has 300 HP. You physically cannot do 300 HP until later in the game, and you're trying to go ahead and start taking your prizes. You can make this Charizard, make a Charizard EX, slap for 360, KO the Kangaskhan in one hit, take 3 prizes, right? So most of the use cases we've seen from Japan have been just one of this guy in a regular Charizard EX deck. We'll go back here and look at the evolution line because these are relevant. So you've got this Charmander 80 HP, which sucks because he's not Buddy Poffinable. And he has 2 retreats, so you're thinking, why would I ever play this guy? Because his ability is pretty good. If he has no energy attached, he has 0 retreat. Pretty relevant in certain situations, not enough for you to play a full grip of this guy. You're not playing 4, but you might play 1, right? A lot of the Charmander list or Charizard list are moving to a thicker Charizard line. Currently, the lines will look like 3-2-2. Now we're looking more like 4-3-2-1, right? So 4 Charmander, 3 Charmeleon, two Zards, and 2 Megazards, or excuse me, 1 Megazard. Speaking about Charmeleon, we have, I think, what is the new de facto best Charmeleon. 110 HP, 1 energy 40. The 2 that we have that are currently being played, there's a 100 HP one that just easily gets replaced by this guy. And then there's a 90 HP one, but it has Flare Veil is an ability that says essentially it's not affected by the effects of attacks. So like that Charmeleon can't get TM de-evolutioned, Dragapult can't put damage counters on it, so on and so forth. But this guy having 110 HP kind of makes it less relevant that the other Charmeleon does that. It kind of fixes some of the math issues that we were having. So this guy I think is going to be the de facto Charmeleon moving forward. Another addition potentially to Charizard decks is this Moltres. So single prize 120 HP, Fighting Wings 20 plus. If your opponent's active as an EX, then you're hitting for 90. So all in all, you're hitting for 110. Why is this relevant? Because Teal Mask Ogerpon has 210 HP and is weak to fire, right? So 1 energy, kill the Teal Mask. You're not quite hitting the number on Goldingo. Goldingo has 260. You would need a Defiance Band, I believe, or like Max Belt, Defiance Band, some damage mod to get over that that hump to kill Goldingos, which currently we play Chi-Yu for that reason. Difference between this and Chi-Yu, this has 10 more HP. This has an attack that only needs 1 energy versus Chi-Yu. You essentially have to Infernal Rain onto Chi-Yu unless you get lucky and the cards fall perfectly that you're able to set it up the turn before. So my initial reaction when I first saw this card, I was texted the boys and said, "Oh, so Chi-Yu's out and Moltres is in, right?" But we gotta think about it because Goldango is still relevant. It's really nice to be able to one-shot him without having to go get a tool. So it all comes down to testing. But this guy is probably worth picking up for sure if you plan on playing a deck with fire energy in it, not just Charizard. But because this guy only has 1 in his attack cost, he's viable in decks that are just, hey, you play fire energy and a nest ball, right? Or something like that, cool. Then you can use me. These Darmanitans are bad. This guy, we'll take a quick stop into GLC land for a second. This guy's probably good in GLC. Big basic. Fire is bad, but this guy's probably good. 4 energy, 240. This essentially says 4 energy, knock out most everything in the game and on a GLC level. And there is a Charizard from, I believe it's Pokemon Go, that makes all your fire energy count for 2. So this is 240 for 2 energy in reality. And if you put something to make this guy bigger, the doing 60 damage to yourself isn't really that big a deal. So if you're a GLC player, this guy might be worth it if you plan on playing fire, even though fire is pretty bad. Oricorio EX. This is clearly the card that the Pokemon game designers wanted us to play Mega Charizard with. I don't think that's gonna end up how it is though. So some Charizard list in Japan are playing 1 of this guy to be able to more easily set up Mega Charizard. Uh, Most people are just going with Infernal Rain. This guy's because Mega Charizard right now is a closer. Mega Charizard is not, we're playing the game from behind him. I don't even think that's how it's going to end up after rotation because the direct correlation, right? The direct comparison is Raging Bolt, but Raging Bolt works because it's a basic and has stuff like Professor Sada, right? Uh, Charizard EX, on the other hand, as a stage 2, the Dark type Charizard works because it essentially lets you cheat, right? It's one of the most broken cards that they've printed in a while, where it accelerates 1.5 of itself onto the board, and you essentially stack Defiance bands every time that your opponent does take a knockout, and you don't have to be behind on prizes to do that effect. Just every time they take a knockout, you do 30 more, 30 more. Oh, I ran out of, like, I don't have 2 fire energy in my hand. It doesn't matter because Infernal Rain just gets it for me. You can't do that with Megazord. You have to have the fire in your hand to attach with the Oricorio, right? So right now, it's probably better not to have Oricorio in your Charizard deck. Play Mega Charizard as a 1-up in regular Charizard, and post rotation, of course, we're yet to see. There might be other stuff that's good with it, but right now, I don't think the Mega Charizard X EX and Oricorio EX is going to be a combo that's very playable. Uh, Moving to this Charcadet, when I first read this Charcadet and I first saw it, we were like, "Oh, this is great." You search your deck, it's 70 HP, so it's Buddy Buddy Poffinable. Even though I don't believe Charcadet or Ceruledge decks really play Buddy Poffin, and it has Gather Power. Search your deck for 2 basic energy cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Shuffle your deck. Great for Ceruledge. Go get 2 energy. Toss them next turn. Right? That's plus 40 damage. The issue is this guy is fat. He has 2 retreat, which doesn't seem like it matters, but it really does. Being able to just pivot from your Pokemon, especially early in the game, on your little guys is very important. It's the only reason why that Charmander that we talked about earlier is even playable, because he has an ability that gives him free retreat. So this guy, you might play 1. It was wild to me how much it mattered when I was testing these decks. But yeah, you might play 1 of this guy just because the attack is good. The attack is very good for what you want to do. But other than that, no, we're not. This guy's not really that great. This Ceruledge is really good in a vacuum. So Ceruledge, stage 1 prize Pokemon, 140 HP with Purgatory Slash. Discard 4 basic fire from your hand, or this attack does nothing. It's for 1 energy and it does 220. Cracked, overstated, right? That's your initial thought, and I don't think you're wrong. Here's the issue. This probably does not go in regular Ceruledge decks as a single prize attacker. 1, because you need all your Charcadets to be available to become big Ceruledges, and 2, it's kind of anti-synergistic with what Ceruledge really wants to do. Like, to make this card work in a regular Ceruledge deck, you probably have to start playing cards like Energy Retrieval and Superior Energy Retrieval, which I guess you're getting the energy out of the discard and you're putting it right back, but you probably just want to leave the energy in the discard. Like, that's the deck is already very tight for space, so adding other stuff like that to make this card work doesn't seem worth it. You probably could make this card work. You probably just have to build a different deck, right? Wouldn't be the classic Cerule Edge decks that we're seeing now. So that's kind of my gripe with Cerule Edge. But I think it's a decent card. I think it could be good in GLC as well because you got your plethora of Charcadets to choose from, and there's a supporter card in this set that I think could be really good. All these water type Pokemon suck. Sorry about it. We'll talk about these guys just because they have a evolution that might be relevant. I don't think it's very good, but we'll still talk about it. So Piplup has call for support. Search your deck for a supporter card, reveal it, put it in your hand. If this was call for family, it would be a million times better, but it is not. Piplup is Buddy Buddy Poffinable, which you need on your little guys. But other than that, not much to talk about here. Aim Dive. I think Primplump in like 2007 had a similar thing where you just spread damage, but that's not 2007 anymore, not 2008 anymore, right? Spreading 70 for 3 is not good. I guess you could play Ignition Energy, but you shouldn't do that. You should play a different deck. And I guess we'll skip down and talk about Empoleon. So Empoleon, Stage 2, 320 HP. It is not a Mega Evolution, so it's still only giving out 2 prizes. And it has permanent Mist Energy. Counter stance says prevent all effects done to this Pokemon by attacks of your opponent's Pokemon. It's pretty decent, situationally good. You know, can't have the 6 dropped on it from Phantom Dive. Can't be confused by Monkey Dory, stuff like that. But when we look at the rest of the card, for Metal colorless Iron Phaser 210. During your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes 60 less damage from attacks. Not very good. For 3 energy, we want to be doing way more. Not necessarily more damage, but we want a better effect. And like taking 60 Lex is great because this effectively gives you 380 HP. But you're a stage 2, you're weak to fire, which I know I just said uh, Megazard is not its own deck, but Megazard will be played in Charizard EX decks, right? So you just get blown up by that. I'm not sure that this is a card worth putting stock in outside of I'm going to a locals and I like Empoleon, right? If we're trying to be competitive, trying to win league cups and challenges, potentially playing regionals, this isn't a card that we want to put a lot of stock or a lot of time into. Meta Pokemon are kind of on the way out. Also, your acceleration is kind of bad right now. You have to either gunk up your deck with like Matangs or put a stage 2 in your Duraludon deck, which already is not doing great as a stage 1 deck. So putting water type stage 2s in it doesn't sound great. So yeah, no, I'm not on the Empoleon train. We get to skip some stuff though. All these lightning Pokemon suck. Rotom is a funny haha deck if you like Rotom and you want to play to a locals. All your Pokemon with Rotom in its name can have 2 tool cards attached to it, and then you get to use this guy for an Ignition Energy tool drop 40 times the amount of tools. You'll win some games, but that's kind of it. Moving on to Psychic. Psychic, they tried to give us some confusion lock with Miss Magius. I was kind of hype on it originally because all the pieces are there, but then after conversations about how many different ways you can get out of the confusion and confusion is not poison, so confusion doesn't matter. All your opponent has to do is flip heads, and it's like the confusion didn't matter. Um, but Miss Magius, a 2 prize, stage 1, 260 HP, swirling spell. If this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, when your opponent switches, your new active Pokemon is now confused. So for those who don't know how confusion works, I make you confused, and then when you go to attack, you have to flip a coin. Normally, you can retreat out of confusion and you can evolve out of confusion, but this says you can't switch out of confusion. And then they gave us a stadium Vertigo Valley, confused Pokemon don't recover from confusion when they are evolved or devolved. So this takes away the just evolve out of it situation. So you can't switch, you can't evolve, and they give us Bramble Gas that just says when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, your opponent's active is confused. So game plan is uh, Evo Bramblegas on the bench, make the thing in the active for my opponent confused, Miss Magius in the active so they can't switch out of the confusion. Whatever comes up next will be confused as well. And then play Vertigo Valley. Now they can't evolve out of the confusion. I have confusion lock. I can just sit here and bully my opponent and hope they never flip heads. The issue is 50% of the time they'll flip heads. And then you boss around the Miss Magius, like boss up the Bramblegas, and then switch. Get rid of the Vertigo Valley with your own counter stadium, which decks are playing, and then evolve, right? So you can't. It's not really a great strategy. 6 magic isn't a bad attack. 2 energy, 150 draw until you have 6. The draw until you have 6 part is pretty good. The 150 is pretty bad for 2 energy. So Miss Magius, I'm not sold. Zacian, another good GLC card. It was also very broken in pre-release. Pre-release format, your opponent and you all start with 4 prize cards. So the second that your opponent takes a knockout, you're swinging for 140, which is very good for you. This is another card that's great in GLC. GLC, you have Dimension Valley, so you can do this attack for 1. You have Wondrous Patch, which we'll talk about here. So even if your D-Valley is not out, you can attach Wondrous Patch to this guy, or you can attach and then use Wondrous Patch on this guy, and then you're swinging for 140 off the bat. Put a Muscle Band on it, you're doing 160. Let me go pull up Wondrous Patch. Wondrous Patch, for those who have been playing for a minute, is just Dark Patch, but for Psychic Pokemon. It's Dark Patch, it's Metal Saucer, it's Aqua Patch. These cards are always good. So this could pair nicely with Zacian and some other cards we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But that's it for the Psychic Pokemon. The Fighting Pokemon are bad. Flygon is cute, and I love Flygon, and I wish they would make him good. But essentially, 150, Stage 2 single prize, Flapping Sand says when you evolve this Pokemon or when it is knocked out, make your opponent discard the top 2. Could be cute in your Great Tuscan deck, but I don't think it's very good competitively. Onto the Dark type. This is the second part of the set that got some attention. So Fire types, really just Charizard got attention, and then Darkness Pokemon got some attention. Let me go ahead and adjust my chair real quick. So, first let's talk about Mega Sharpedo. Mega Sharpedo, for one energy, says Greedy Fangs, 70 draw 2, which is pretty decent. It is a stage 1 Mega Pokemon, so it gives up 3 prizes, and it has 330 HP. 330 HP seems big until you remember that it is the exact same amount as like Charizard EX has. So we've been prepped to knock out 330 HP for a few years now. The second attack is really where you see some of the synergy of the set with Dark Pokemon come in. So Hungry Jaw, 2 Dark, 120 plus if this Pokemon has any amount of damage counters on it. Then the attack does 150, so you're hitting for 270 if you have any damage counters on it. I'll pull up the Toxtricity. It's clearly meant to be paired with the Toxtricity. Toxtricity is bad upper ability. Says once during your turn, you may search your deck for 1 basic dark energy and attach it to one of your bench dark Pokemon. Put 2 damage counter. If you do, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon, then shuffle. So you bad upper from Toxtricity onto your Mega Sharpedo, you attach 1 to Sharpedo, now you're hitting for 270. And you can do it just that fast. My issue with this is that there's probably better dark attackers, and there's probably better dark attackers to pair with Toxtricity, right? Main example is Absol EX. Absol EX is a basic instead of being a stage 1, so we're not worried about evolving our attacker, just the support Pokemon. And then it has the attack for the exact same 2 dark energy that just says if your opponent has exactly 6 damage counters, knock them out. So you can go ahead and set up 2 damage counters on your Absol to move over with Monkey Dories. Since we're already playing Dark Energy in the deck, you can start getting ready for that. Versus setting up two stage ones. You can just have some basics in your one stage one. And they both go up 3 prizes, but Mega Absol has more tools, right? You can Lively Stadium, give your Mega Absol plus 30, Bravery Charm, give it plus 50, um, and make it as big as a Mega Sharpedo, as big and as hard to kill uh, on a basic instead of on a stage one. So I think Sharpedo is just a little outclassed. Survivor, Survivor's cute. It's a basic uh, 1 prize Pokemon for 120. It says if you have a Darkness Mega EX Pokemon in play, this attack does 120 more. So three dark for 240. It's cute. It's probably not that great. It's meant to be paired with another dark Pokemon, Mega EX, that we'll talk about here in a little bit. Um, but I don't think it's good enough because I don't think that card is good enough. The Mega EX. We've already talked about the metal type Pokemon. This Duraludon could be good if you want to still play Archaludon. Um, this Archaludon is probably bad. It's just Pokemon loves Archaludon for some reason. We're not going to talk about Ambipom. I don't believe in Double Tail. Lanoon. Okay, so Lanoon is interesting. I don't think Lanoon is that great. Lanoon dives to Dusclops, or Dusknoir, excuse me. Um, Double Phantom Dive, your Lanoon's dead. But your Lanoon has Russian, which I do like. So if this Pokemon is on your bench and you have a Mega Pokemon EX in play, you may use this ability to switch that Pokemon with your active Pokemon. This does not count as your like retreat for turn, right? Because you're using an ability. So if you have any Mega EX Pokemon, but specifically the one that we're going to talk about next, uh, in play, you can Excited Dash into the active, which helps that strategy. Now, there's a bunch of different ways. Like right now, we have Jet Energy in format, which is probably better than playing a stage one in your deck. But when that's gone, Lanoon probably sees some more play. Mega Lopunny EX, probably actually the best EX in the set. 330 HP on a stage one. It has for 1 energy Gale Thrust, 60, and then if this opponent was on your bench this turn, this attack does 170 damage. So essentially, if you go from the bench to the active, you're doing 230. Very important number. And then Spike Hopper for 2 colorless, do 160, not affected by effects on your opponent's Pokemon, on your opponent's active Pokemon. So, why is this card so good? This card is essentially Blood Moon Ursaluna that can hit Crustle and kill a Stone Mask Ogerpon. It's kind of serves the same purpose. For those who don't know, Blood Moon does 240. It has an attack that costs 5 energy, but for each prize card your opponent takes, then you pay 1 less energy. So if your opponent's at 2 prizes, you're doing 240 for 1, right? Well, this does 230 for 1, and it does it all game. And this is better than Blood Moon because Blood Moon does enough damage to kill a Stone Mask Ogerpon, but it has an ability, and Stone Mask Ogerpon says the thing, or Stone Mask Ogerpon, I'm pretty sure it says the thing with abilities can't kill me. Let me double check. Or it might be Pokemon EX. I always get it and Crustle mixed up. Stone. Ogerpon. There you go, Cornerstone. I was going to call it Stone Mask. Prevent all damage and attacks with an ability, right? So because your Blood Moon has an ability, it can't hit it. This does not have an ability. Therefore, 1 Jet Energy means you kill Stone Mask. This is the Stone Mask killer to the point where decks that probably would not play this card if Cornerstone was not in the format are playing it. Charizard's playing it. Inns are playing it because it's also a colorless Pokemon, right? So anything where your main attacker has an ability, you put a 1/1 of this, a 2/2 of this in your deck. Now your opponent can't just go double Cornerstone, you lose the game. So I think Mega Lopunny is great. Let's talk about the Pokemon before we get into the trainers. Mega Diancie, the only card that matters from the Mega Diancie deck. This card's cracked, and when I first saw it, I thought this card was bad until I thought about the use cases. It's a purple Pokemon, so obviously we're putting it in Gardevoir. It has an ability Diamond Coat, and this is a basic 3-prizer with 270 HP. Diamond Coat says it takes 30 less from attacks, full stop, so it essentially has 300 HP. And because we're playing it in Gardevoir, you're playing with Monkey Dory. So it has essentially as much HP as you say it does. With Monkey Dories, the attack Garland Ray does 120 times. Now, the times is if you discard up to 2 energy from this Pokemon, this attack does 120 for each energy card discarded in this way. So you're hitting for 240. The 240 number is very good because you can do this very quick because it's a basic. It's a basic that isn't just going to get blown up, right? Because it has 300 HP effectively with Diamond Coat. And if you are monkey dorying off of this thing, there's plenty of times when you have double dory, even triple dory up, and you're psychic embracing on this thing, you can over attach to it and then monkey dory 60 off and then hit for 240. So you're doing 300 damage with this thing relatively quickly. If you have triple monkey up, you can hit all the way up to 330 if you're over attaching that much to this thing. So you can close the game with this guy doing 330 damage, and he's not weak to dark, which is Guardy's big weakness into a deck like Charizard. This guy's weak to metal, and metal type Pokemon suck right now. So Mega Diancie kind of goes crazy. This guy's definitely a pickup. The Mega Gengar, this is what we wanted to pair with that Survivor I showed you guys earlier. This card reads really good, but I think it's really bad. So Mega Gengar, Stage 2, Mega Evolution Pokemon, so it gives up 3 prizes, and it has 350 HP. The ability, Shadow Hiding, says when one of your Darkness type Pokemon is knocked out from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon EX, your opponent takes 1 less prize card. That reads super strong, right? Because that means Gengar gives up 2 prizes. That means your Pheasantipity gives up 1 prizes. That means that Survivor and Toxtricity will give up 0 prizes. If this card is in play and your opponent knocks out a Pokemon with their Pokemon EX, the issue is that's easily avoidable, right? Kill it with something that's not a Pokemon EX. Kill it with a Dusknoir. Dragapult, Phantom Dive, kill it with the 6 that you get to spread, right? All that gets you around the prize card thing. I think, and there's other options as well. I think Gengar is annoying to play around at best, but not actually good. The attack is not very good. It has some good thought behind it, right? So 2 dark for Void Gale, you do 230 and move an energy to one of your bench Pokemon. Initial thought, you can do this and move a dark energy onto a Monkey Dory or something, or power of a backup attacker. So you've got some actionable steps there, but by the time you're doing all that, you could just be playing a different dark deck, right? You could just be playing a Mega Absol deck. You could just be playing Ins. Actually, the deck that I saw that did the best with this in Japan was Ins Zoroark, because you make your Ins be 1 instead of 2 prizers. But other than that, Mega Gengar, not very good. Still pick them up. You never know. If they release a good basic dark attacker, then Mega Gengar might be worth it, but not really worth it. A card that I think is worth it is Punk Helmet, right? So what Punk Helmet says is if this is attached to a dark Pokemon and the dark Pokemon is damaged by an opponent's attack, then put 4 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. This goes hand in hand with something like an Absol, because Absol says it has an attack for 2 dark that says if the opponent has exactly 6 damage counters on it, it's just knocked out, right? So there's a world where you attach this to Mega Absol, you power it up with attach and then Toxtricity onto it after your opponent, or excuse me, and then you essentially say if your opponent hits you, then you're going to knock out whatever they hit you with, right? And you're going to do it for free. So you can pair this with that. You can attach this and say you don't power it up with Toxtricity and your opponent punches you. Cool. You can power up a Monkey Dory on the bench and move 2 to the active Pokemon. They took 4 because they punched you while you had Punk Helmet attached. Now you just kill whatever it is. So this has some serious synergy with Mega Absol. I think this card is pretty good with Monkey Dory being in the format and Absol being in the format. Not a lot of trainer cards, and they're pretty easy to talk about. So this is the card that I said I thought would be potentially better than Ludicolo is with Mega Venusaur, Jumbo Ice Cream. You can play a full group of these, put 4 in your deck, heal 80 damage from your active Pokemon that has 3 or more energy attached. Good with Mega Venusaur, but really good with Mega Kangaskhan. Mega Kangaskhan has 300 HP. It's a basic, and it takes 3 energy to attack. There's already a deck that plays Acerola. I think it's like Acerola's Promise or Premonition or something, and uh, plays Fortress, where you blow the Fortress up, you attach energy to the Mega Kangaskhan, and you play Acerola every turn to say, hey, you can't hit me. What this allows you to do is instead of doing that, you can play the tank version of Kangaskhan with Bouffalance, and say you take 60 less every turn on your 300 prize guy that can wear a Bravery Charm and use Lively Stadium. Oh yeah, and I have 4 Jumbo Ice Cream in my deck, so I'm healing at least 80 damage every turn, right? Uh, Actually insane work. Also, this deck could go crazy, or this card could go crazy in like a control deck. So I think I personally just think this card might have been a mistake, but we'll have to see if it's actually good or not. Heat Burner, this card is cracked, except this card is cracked with an asterisk, right? And I think it's one that it needed because this card would be too good, I think, if you could just do it for free. So the drawback is you must discard a basic fire energy from your hand in order to play this card. So if you're not rocking a deck like Dragapult or Charizard or something that plays fire energy, you're not playing this card. But it says choose a Pokemon tool, special energy, or stadium card and discard it from play. So it's either an enhanced hammer or half a field blower. That's crazy. The second I saw this card, I was like, yeah, if my deck can play this card, if I've got the slot, I'm probably gonna play it. If I'm not, then of course you can play Tool Scrapper or Enhanced Hammer. Uh, and honestly, depending on how many fire energy, like this card's great in Ceruledge because you can play a decent amount of fire if you're playing the Goldango fire build next set with a card that we'll talk about here in a moment. This card's great in that because you play a crap ton of fire energy, right? So you can just use this to get around stuff your opponent's trying to do. But the drawback might be too much for it to be like a full staple as far as having to have the fire in your hand to you play this card. This next card, Sacred Charm. Sacred Charm is the Pokemon this is attached to takes 30 less from Pokemon with abilities. This is super meta dependent. This is super what's good right now dependent. If the best attackers don't have abilities, this card doesn't matter. If the best attacker does have abilities, this card might matter, and probably there's no guarantee it'll matter. So, this look around and see what's happening. Grimsley's Move. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Choose a dark Pokemon you find there. Put it on your bench. Shuffle your deck. Um, so shuffle the other cards face down and put them at the bottom of your deck. Okay, so it's not shuffle into your deck. It's shuffle, put them at the bottom of your deck. So please read your card so you don't get a DPL for that. But this card, very strong, probably bad. Very strong because it says choose a dark Pokemon. It doesn't say choose a basic dark Pokemon. This can get you Toxtricity. This can get you Mega Gengar. This can get you essentially every dark Pokemon in your deck. This card can get you. The issue is it has to be in the top 7 cards. This is Great Ball on a supporter. Great Ball on a supporter that can get you any dark Pokemon. The combo right now is you Academy at Night with this. Academy at Night lets you take a card from your hand and put it on the top of your deck, and then you can play Grimsley's Move just to put that card directly into play. But that's very not reliable. I think if you don't play Secret Box in your deck, you probably can't do that. So Grimsley's Move, not very great. A card that is great, Dawn. Dawn says search your deck for a basic, a stage 1, and a stage 2 card. And a stage 2 Pokemon, reveal them, put them into your hand, shuffle your deck. This card's cracked. This card is a very good search card. I think every deck that is a stage 2 deck should at least test playing 1 or 2 Dawn. After seeing some testing and doing some testing, I think decks like Dragapult are probably better off with like 1 Dawn, 2 Hilda still, because you still need to find your energy. But this card gives a lot of potential setup, and it doesn't specify without a rule box or with a rule box. So even in decks, like if you're in a situation where you need a Fez, but you also want to evolve, instead of just like nest balling for Fez and then Fezzing, hoping that you get cards that let you evolve, you can just go Dawn for, Fez, Charmeleon, something else, right? Fez, whatever. Decks that play Noctowl are cracked with this. You can go like Fez, Noctowl if you're playing a stage 2, whatever stage 2. Or again, in a Charizard build, the Turtlezard build that plays Terapagos, you can go Fez, Noctowl, Charizard EX. Boom. You just guaranteed yourself as long as you can go like Noctowl, Rare Candy, make a Charizard, Fez, draw a bunch of cards. So Dawn has some really cool implications. Very strong search supporter. Every stage 2 deck should be playing at least 1 to 2 a Dawn, in my opinion, after some testing. Fire Breather. This is another card that reads super strong, but will be dependent on what they print. If this card came out in the Sun and Moon era and you could play this with Baby Blacephalon, it would be broken. This card could be good in a version of Golden Go. Search your deck for up to 7 basic fire energy and put them into your hand. Shuffle your deck. So yeah, go pull out 7 fire energy. What? That's insane. Um, if yeah, but it is dependent on what they print to go with it because Baby Blacephalon is not a thing right now. The Fire Goldengo builds that I've seen have not done well in Japan. Maybe this is good in whatever version of Ceruledge you have to build to make the baby Ceruledge work. But I think this card, yeah, it depends, right? So that's my opinion on Fire Breather. And last competitive card here. This is Pokemon's Band-Aid card for the set. This is them trying to fix some card design that ended up being too strong. So Battle Coliseum says prevent all damage counters from being placed on bench Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's, by the effects of or abilities used by the opponent's Pokemon. What does this affect, Tyson? This affects Munkidori. This affects Dragapult. This affects Dusknoir. Some of them, probably the top part of the top 5 most strong cards and abilities in the game. Before Psyduck last set, there was not a single card that would stop Dusknoir. If I said Curse Blast, it just happened until Psyduck was a thing, right? Now, this card, let's make sure that we read, prevents onto your bench, right? So I can still Munkidori your active. I can still Dusknoir your active. Phantom Dive, the 6 from Phantom Dive is turned off because that has to go to the bench. But you can still do things like that. Also, what your opponent can do with Munkidori is instead of using it to put damage counters on your board, which is obviously the best thing that we want to do, we want to heal and put stuff on your board, but we can still use it to heal, right? We can still, Psychic Embrace to the Guardy to be able to retreat and then just heal the Guardy, right? Or heal the Guardy and put it onto your active instead of putting it where we wanted it on the bench, right? And then retreating the Guardy. Or we can still Curse Blast. We can Curse Blast onto the bench so that we activate Counter Catcher in like Charizard or Dusknoir. We can still Curse Blast onto the active to help us reach for the knockout, right? So this card protects, while it does a decent job stopping some like really nasty combo plays, like where your opponent goes Rare Candy, Dusknoir, make Dusclops, pop both of them, blow up your board with a Phantom Dive, right? They can't do crap like that. They still have a lot of stuff they can do. So Battle Coliseum, still a good stadium. I think decks like Charizard will start playing this to help with the Dragapult matchup. The current build of Charizard I've been testing does not have any Dusks. It's like straight up Pidgeot Charizard with a couple of these in it and the Psyduck to try and help that matchup. But we'll have to see how it shakes out for Battle Coliseum. Overall, pretty small set, uh, but with a lot of competitive stuff in the set. I don't think competitive players will be bored going into the Phantasmal Flames meta. But thanks again for checking out the competitive set review, guys. Again, it's TCG Tyson. Please like, subscribe, share the video, and I'll talk to you all a bit later. Peace.